Lovely people, I'm sure over this last week you have been watching the news with horror as events have unfolded in the States. Things have been hideously unfair there for the last few months, and I think this last week has topped it all. It is so hard seeing young children removed from their parents simply because they were born in a place that didn't give them the life chances every person deserves. It brings up quite a lot of questions. What can I do? Should I talk to my kids about it? And I kind of wanted to just open up a conversation about that here. Today I'm going to be talking in particular about the events currently in the States. But it does seem as though Trump has softened somewhat his policy this morning. He has said he's not going to forcibly remove children from their parents, but he's still persisting with a zero-tolerance immigration policy. So what this looks like now is probably children being detained with their parents, so whole families being imprisoned, which is obviously not a huge improvement. The whole thing still absolutely smacks of injustice. First of all, it's actually really encouraging that he has softened his approach. It's absolutely a response to the outcry all around the world and in America particularly. The petitions that you have signed, the noise you have made online. So that's the number one thing that we can keep doing, is adding our voices, even when we're far away, so remote, in any way we can, add our voices to the outcry. Obviously, the second thing we can do is to add our funds. If you've got money to give, even if it's $1, give it to a charity that you really trust and believe in. Do a little bit of research about this. I'm really encouraged by the work of Together Rising. They've done some amazing work over the last couple of years, and I feel really confident that money given there goes directly to people on the ground who are working with families. And there's going to need to be a lot of people on the ground working with families going forward. So add your voice and add your funds. Those are the two most simple things we can do in the face of global injustice. One of the massive questions that has come up this week is, should I be talking to my kids about this? Because if you are a respectful parent, if you're a parent who sees yourself as an ally to your child, probably you want to be an ally to all the children of the world. And one of the principles of Parent Allies, my parenting organisation I recently set up, is to encourage people to think about children as a marginalised people group and to step alongside them in their own homes, but also as a movement that cares about children in other countries in far worse situations. Do we bring our kids into this conversation? Personally, I don't think we have evolved to take on all the information we are given every day about awful different things happening all around the world. Until mass media, literally until 30 years ago, we weren't receiving this much info about all the awful things happening. Every day we're saturated with situations that we can't really do much about, but that are deeply affect our hearts and our emotional state. I especially don't think it's healthy for our children to know all the details of things happening outside of their world. I personally think under 7-year-olds should only hear about injustice in really vague, big picture terms, and always with a sort of hopeful action attached to it. So with your under 7-year-olds, I would not be talking about the details of their children being taken away from parents in America. I wouldn't be talking about the specific details of news items. I absolutely would not be listening to the news or watching the news. I would be absolutely protecting my under 7-year-olds from that detail. 7 to 12, it would be up to you as a parent to really figure out if you think your child can handle it. Some sensitive children won't be able to process it at all. It will horrify them. And the older you get, they might be able to better process it. Studies have shown that even 10-year-olds can't get their heads around the extent of things happening, and it can leave them in a really bad way emotionally. When they do hear about news, because it's kind of inevitable, there's radios playing in shops and that kind of thing, when they do hear about news, absolutely be open, answer their questions, be available to them to talk about it, check in with them, keep the gateways open to just a constant evolving conversation about the issue. When you talk about issues of injustice with your children, be really careful about your language, because as soon as we start dehumanizing who we see as the perpetrators, such as Trump, as soon as we use dehumanizing language to talk about Trump, we're almost as bad as that whole lot of people. I think that we should still see them as human at the very core of their being, even when it's really difficult. I know that this might be quite controversial to some of you. Some of you might think that I'm raising insulated children, and that when we don't talk about the details of tragedy and when we hide the news from them, we are raising humans who are just going to have their head in the sands. But I absolutely don't believe that's true. I think injustice is everywhere. Our kids face injustice every day. They see it. They see homeless people. They see lonely people. And every single time we respond to an event or a situation or someone in front of us with kindness and generosity, we are giving our children a blueprint for how they can move through life going forward. Every time we have a friend over who's struggling, every time we take a bunch of flowers to our neighbour, every time we donate food to a food bank, we are showing our children that there is injustice in the world, but there's something we can do about it. Even the small everyday kindnesses will be modelling to your children a way of being in the world that will last forever. Right now it might be kindness to the child in their class, but in a few years' time it will be showing kindness to the children who are living in poverty somewhere in the world. Of course, knowing about all the tragedy in the world is actually a great gift, because it means that we can come together and collectively create great change and progress and move forward towards a vision of a just and peaceful society. I just think that with our children, that vision needs to be local and very tangible, and that in time, as they grow, that beautiful small seed of justice that you have given them will grow and grow, and they'll be able to apply it to all of the situations they see around them. I'd love to hear your comments about all of this. Much love to you, and stay radical. Thank you for watching. Mwah.